Good evening, Rambler fans, and welcome to this week's episode. The men's volleyball team was able to bounce back from their loss to The Ohio State University, beating Princeton in 3 straight sets.
Meanwhile, softball and men's soccer are both back in Chicago following their spring break travels. We'll have more on both trips later in the show. Plus,
both the men and women's basketball teams' seasons came to an end competing in the Missouri Valley Conference tournaments. All this and more coming up on the Rambler Sports Locker. Hello, I'm Trisha McCauley.
And I'm Mike Nitch. Loyola's men's volleyball team is getting back on track after a tough start to the season.
The Ramblers defeated Princeton in 3 straight sets Monday night. The Ramblers took the first set 25-22 and the second set by only 2 points, 27-25. Sophomore Jeff Drendrick led the Ramblers to a 7-point lead over Princeton in the third set and won 25-19. The Ramblers defense had a season high of 13 blocks in a 3-set game, and Drendrick led the team with a career high of 9 blocks. Loyola had a total of 36 kills, with Drendrick and freshman Will Tischler leading the team with 8 kills each. The Ramblers take on Lindenwood and Quincy later this week in conference play.
Now we'll send it over to Gianna Marshall for this week's By the Numbers.
Hey, I'm Gianna Marshall. Welcome to By the Numbers. The number for this week is 2. This year, the Missouri Valley Conference is sending 2 teams dancing in March. This marks the second year in a row that the Missouri Valley Conference is sending 2 teams to the NCAA tournament. Northern Iowa and Wichita State will represent the conference in the tournament for the second year in a row. Northern Iowa, the winner of the Arch Madness tournament this year, defeated Evansville by 2 points, 56-54, to earn their ticket to the dance. Speaking of the NCAA tournament, Loyola won the tournament in 1963 over 2-time defending champion Cincinnati in a comeback overtime thriller by 2 points. Loyola won the game without 2 of their best players on the court. Jerry Harkness hit a 2-point jumper in the final seconds of regulation, tying the score at 54 to send the game to overtime. Vic Rouse caught the offensive board on a missed shot by Les Hunter and tipped the ball in the basket for 2 points as the overtime buzzer went off. They finished the regular season with a 24-2 record. The Chicago Bulls defeated the Toronto Raptors by 2 points, a score of 109-107 on Tuesday night. After hitting a free throw in the final seconds of regulation, Jimmy Butler, the Bulls' best 2-way player, blocked a crucial 2-point layup from DeMar Lozar in the last second that would have sent the game to overtime. Jimmy Butler has played just 2 games since February while recovering from a knee injury. Second-year forward Doug McDermott came off the Bulls bench to score 29 points, leading the Bulls to victory. In baseball, the Cubs beat the White Sox 9-2 over the weekend. Jason Hamill, the Cubs' starting pitcher, allowed just 2 hits in the 4 innings he pitched. The Cubs center fielder Dexter Fowler hit his second home run of the spring season. Anthony Rizzo hit a 2-run single in the first inning that led the Cubs to victory. That's all I have for this week's By the Numbers. I'm Gianna Marshall. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Gianna. The number 2 is one of my favorites as well. The Ramblers softball team had a busy spring break in North Carolina, playing 10 games over the course of 10 days in 2 separate tournaments. The women won 6 and lost 4. In 3 of its 6 wins, Loyola scored 7 or more runs. In 4 of their losses, the Ramblers only scored a total of 9 runs. The team ended its trip with a 6-2 loss to Northern Illinois on Sunday night. Freshman Katie Kasubke, her 2-run home run in the 5th inning was the only scoring the Ramblers could create on the day, but it wasn't enough to spark a rally. This was Kasubke's 3rd home run of the season. The softball team has a busy weekend coming up with a 3-game away series against Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. They look to improve on their 15-7 overall record.
There are more than 25 club sports teams at Loyola, but one of the lesser-known teams is Loyola's co-ed water polo team. Gianna Marshall visited with the water polo players.
Ramblers on 3, 1, 2, 3, Ramblers!
Every day, thousands of students walk into Hallis Recreation Center, and about 25 of these students head to the pool to play a sport not many people at Loyola know about. This sport, it's water polo. Loyola's co-ed club water polo team is a member of the Great Lakes Conference, which is a part of the Collegiate Water Polo Association, a national water polo league. The Ramblers play in tournaments against teams all over the Midwest, from Northwestern University to The Ohio State University. One of the 3 female players says that the team's chemistry is just as important as winning games.
It's been really nice. I have a family here on campus because I commute, so it's nice to come here at night and have somebody here and have that connection on campus.
Many seniors on the team joined as early as their freshman year. The team's captain, Colin Bellafiore, says joining the team that early in his collegiate career helped him in his transition to Loyola.
I'm really glad I joined. It's how I met most of my friends here at Loyola, and just a really fun time going to tournaments and hanging out with some of your best friends.
Another player says the team's dynamic is what keeps the team energized.
I think it's the attitude that we have. We all want to play. We're all happy to go to tournaments, compete. It just makes for a really good atmosphere.
Loyola's club water polo team is not one of the university's 13 Division I teams, but more than 3 decades ago, the Ramblers did have a Division I water polo team. Bellafiore says there are obstacles that are preventing Loyola from having a Division I team again.
There's not a lot of, I don't know if there's actually any D1 polo teams in the Midwest, so scheduling games would be a bit difficult. We'd have to play against East Coast or West Coast teams.
For the Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Gianna Marshall.
I'm Colin. Jake. Paulo. Christian. Alan. Tyler.
The only water polo I'm playing is Marco Polo. The women's basketball team lost to Southern Illinois University 73-64 in the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament, ending their season. The Ramblers led 30-27 at the half and held a 9-point lead in the third quarter. It came down to the fourth quarter when the Sulkies took a 9-point lead with 7 minutes left in the game, and the Ramblers just couldn't catch up. Freshman Dakota Vaughn ended her season on a high note, scoring a season high of 17 points and going 7 for 15. Taylor Manuel also played a great game, scoring 16 points and getting 9 rebounds for her team, just one shy of getting her 10th double-double this season.
The men's soccer team took a trip to South America over break. The team is back in the States now following a 10-day trip to Peru. The Ramblers toured Lima, Cuzco, and Machu Picchu while in Peru. The team even wrote a blog series featuring posts by 8 players who shared some of the most memorable moments on the Loyola website. The trip was more than sightseeing, though. The men played a friendly match against a professional club from the Peruvian First Division, Deportivo Municipal. The Ramblers scored first, but couldn't keep their hosts out and allowed a tying goal before the end of the draw. Their spring schedule officially begins this Friday against Western Michigan in Kalamazoo. The women's soccer team did not travel to Peru over break, but they also play in a friendly match this Friday. The Ramblers will travel to Romeoville, Illinois to face Lewis University in their second of 4 spring matches. And now let's send it over to Dylan Conover at the Ramble Desk, where he and the Ramble analysts will discuss NFL free agents looking for a pot of gold this St. Patrick's Day.
Hi, welcome to this week's Ramble. Filling in for Bridget Murphy, I'm Dylan Conover, and I'm here with Henry Redmond and Nader Issa. Guys, it's the off season, it's signing week these last couple days, and for the next couple days we're going to be seeing a lot of free agents in the NFL signing these big contracts. And it seems historically, and especially in the last couple years, that these contracts free agents are getting, especially quarterbacks, are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Brock Osweiler from the Broncos just signed a $72 million contract with the Texans. Colin Kaepernick a couple years ago signed a $114 million contract. Sam Bradford, as a rookie, got a $78 million contract. Now, it seems to be the trend that these younger, inexperienced quarterbacks are getting a lot of money. And we see another quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's not necessarily inexperienced. He's a veteran, but he's not necessarily elite. he's pushing to get all these big dollars like all these inexperienced new guys are getting. And so the question I have for you guys is, should these either inexperienced or non-elite quarterbacks be getting the big bucks like they've been getting? Henry, I'll start with you.
Well, the quarterback is the most important position on the field, but I don't think if they're performing as well as the elite quarterbacks, Tom Brady's, Aaron Rodgers, that they should get the same amount of money or even close to it.
Nader, what do you say?
I have another example, Brock Osweiler. He filled in for Peyton Manning this year, played the majority of the second half of the year while Peyton Manning was out before he came back for the playoff run. He did all right. He didn't blow everyone away. He didn't lose any games, like a significant amount of games for the Broncos, but he did well. And my point is that there's only a certain amount of quarterbacks in the NFL that can do just enough to get their teams wins. There are a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL who honestly are a liability for their teams. Having them out there is going to hurt the team if you don't have a good defense. So while you have a quarterback that can not only win games for you, but at the bare minimum cannot hurt you, then you can give them money to stay with the team or to bring them in. Because if you don't have a quarterback that's not going to hurt you, you're not going anywhere in the NFL.
Well, Nader, if a quarterback's not going to hurt you, and not necessarily put you over the top, but just not hurt you, is that worth these tens of millions of dollars that these quarterbacks are getting?
Yeah, because you're not. There's so many quarterbacks in the NFL that do hurt you.
Can I say something?
No. There's so many quarterbacks in the NFL that do hurt you, and if you're able to lock up a quarterback who can win some games. They're not elite. Obviously, Brock Osweiler's not elite. Ryan Fitzpatrick's not elite. But if you can lock up those guys while you have them, look, guys, there's not just quarterbacks laying around for teams to pick up. There's a certain amount of quarterbacks that can win you some games. Some of them are elite, but the ones that can win you games do need to be paid. Someone's going to pay them, so why not you?
Henry, what do you want to say?
Okay, well, the salary cap is arguably one of the most important parts of a team. I know a lot of fans who don't want to be wasting precious salary cap dollars on a quarterback that's just enough.
But if they have a quarterback that's not just enough, they're not going anywhere. You're not getting other players, drawing them in free agency at other positions. The biggest and most important position on a team is the quarterback. You're not getting anyone else without a solid quarterback at the very bare minimum.
Take the Texans, who just gave Osweiler all this money. They have other needs. They just lost Arian Foster. They have to back up J.J. Watt on defense. They're wasting all this salary cap money on Brock Osweiler, who's only played 8 games.
But did you see the Texans in the playoffs last year? They were going through quarterbacks. By the time they were by the time they were knocked out of the playoffs, they didn't have a quarterback that could complete a pass. They were completing more passes to the other team than to their own team. So yeah, you do need someone like Brock Osweiler, who at the bare minimum can get you a few wins, carry you into the postseason, and then you'll see what happens. But if you have a lame duck quarterback who can't even throw a ball, then you're not going anywhere. So yeah, he is worth money.
Nader, building on Henry's point though, when Andrew Luck becomes a free agent, now he's still new, but he's clearly heads and shoulders above all of the other maybe not experienced, maybe mid-tier quarterbacks. And he hasn't gotten a new contract yet, so there's speculation his contract could be over $150 million. You know, building on the salary cap, like what's going to happen then? I mean, Andrew Luck could be easily half the team's payroll.
But there's still contract limits. You can't just pay them hundreds of millions of dollars, just endless amounts of money. There's still limits on how much you can play or how much you can pay each player at each position. So they're still going to have to structure the contract in a way that fits his position's like salary limits. Obviously, Andrew Luck is better than Brock Osweiler. Obviously, he's better than Ryan Fitzpatrick. But he's just another example of a quarterback. Honestly, this far, he hasn't proven to be elite. Last year or the year before, he had the most interceptions in the NFL. So you can't justify quarterbacks that teams need those quarterbacks. You can't justify them not getting paid by saying, oh, Andrew Luck also needs to get paid a lot. Yeah, all of them need to get paid because teams need quarterbacks. There's not that many of them that can win you games.
Henry, closing remarks.
Brock Osweiler was rated the 25th best quarterback by ESPN. He makes the 14th most out of any quarterbacks tied with Tony Romo. He's nowhere near Tony Romo.
How many games has Tony Romo won for the Cowboys the past few years? The year before last year, obviously they went to the playoffs. They lost in the playoffs, but they've been an 8-8 team every year. I think 3 years before that. Last year he was hurt all season. Brock Osweiler at least got his team to the playoffs. I don't care where he ranks among quarterbacks. If you're getting wins, that's all that matters.
All right, this could go on forever. I think it's kind of clear supply and demand. You got to pay what you need, and you don't want to lose, so keep the guy that's not going to make you lose. So I'm going to go with Nader on this one. It was a good debate, guys. Thanks for tuning in for this week's Ramble. Back to you guys at the desk.
I wish I had that type of luck to be mediocre and be making millions of dollars.
Want to join the conversation? Follow and like our social media handles below and tell us your thoughts.
Well, that's all the time that we have today. I'm Mike Nitsch. Tune in to next week's episode of the Rambler Sports Locker for an up-to-date look at Loyola sports.
And I'm Trisha McCauley. Thanks for stopping by the locker, and don't forget to turn out the lights.